Our next guest is known as the man who puzzles America. His crosswords and word jumbles appear frequently in magazines and newspapers across the U.S., and for nearly 20 years his brain teasers have left millions of people scrambling for their dictionaries.
Now, for the first time, his games have arrived here in Asia, and with his latest creation, it's called WORDWINDER. It's debuting in stores here in Singapore this month. So to walk us through the mysterious world of puzzle making, let's welcome David Hoyt this morning, puzzle maker and board game enthusiast. Very good morning to you, David.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So you're a puzzling kind of guy.
I am.
How did you end up being that way?
Oh, I had a job on the floor of the stock exchange in Chicago, and I just decided I wanted to give it all up and do something else, and I just decided I wanted to be a game inventor.
Were you always, someone who loved puzzles, were doing your, puzzles every morning?
No, but I was somebody who always loved inventing. I wanted to be an inventor. So the games and puzzles have allowed me to do that. So I'd be happy inventing anything.
What was the first thing you invented?
Well, the first game that I invented was called Economic Warfare, and it was horrible. But I had to start somewhere. I had to start somewhere.
I think the title didn't sound so good.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly.
So tell us, how do you go about coming up or creating these puzzles?
Well, I make quite a few different ones, but the one that I'm most famous for in the U.S. is called Jumble. And it appears in the International Herald Tribune here and in other places. But I kind of let the world help me. Like, I can be in a bar or restaurant or walking down the street, and I can hear someone say something. And I'll be like, ooh, is that a jumble or is that a word roundup? So I'm kind of I'm watching the world, and the world is helping me make my puzzles. Okay.
Just to explain to our viewers, Jumble is a word game where you unscramble the words, right?
Jumble comes with a cartoon that's drawn by Jeff Kanarick, and there's a pun or riddle, and there are words that are scrambled, and you take the circle letters out to solve it. And,
and word games especially, I mean, when we play them, it's good fun, but to be behind thinking how this would go here and go there, I mean, I gotta admit, that is quite mind-boggling.
It is, and it's caused me to think a completely different way. And, I don't look at anything as what it is. Now I look at a mug and I'm like, how can that be a puzzle? How can I turn that into something? And it's really affected me, and it's good, but I don't know how good.
But when you're creating these word puzzles, are you aided by technology, or is it truly just...
I make almost all my puzzles by hand. Now, obviously, when we enter them in, we use a computer, but one of the things that I have said that I would stick with is that I'm doing them by hand. And then I have an assistant who takes them, and because it would be too easy to create a computer program, and then once I started, I wouldn't be able to stop, because it would be too easy. So I do them all by hand.
So give us some idea how it works. I mean, how much trial and error is involved? How many versions do you go through before you finally get the one that you want,
How do you test it?
On a typical game.
Like with Jumble, sometimes I will take a simple, like, 5-letter word, and I will scramble it up and make it hard to read. And sometimes I will change it 20 times because it just doesn't feel right. And it's, it's not as easy. Sometimes if I were to show you a puzzle, you would say, oh, it's easy, right? A lot of work goes into it, and a lot of little subtle things that you would never notice.
And your assistants, I believe, your parents are involved.
Yes, my parents are very involved. In fact, my parents do a lot of the initial editing for all my puzzles. In fact, they probably edit more puzzles than anyone else in the world, and they love it, and I love having them involved.
Well, you've brought in a new game, is that right? Something you've just created? So, WORDWINDER?
WORDWINDER. Yeah. There it is. There.
Yep, in here, in the box.
And you're going to explain to us how it works.
I'm going to explain this, and it's a very easy thing here. Well, first of all, these are actually boards that are put together. So there's a trillion different ways that these can be put together. But we've glued this together just to show you. And you play words like, here's the word wise. Here's the word treat, and you take turns. And let's see, here's the word locate. And the objective is to simply create a word-winding path of words that connects one side of the board to the opposite side. So it could be left to right or top to bottom. There's no scoring. It's very simple, and there's a lot of strategy. So if someone plays a word going this way, other people will come in and block this way. And it's such a simple concept. Sometimes I wonder, why didn't I invent this 15 years ago or someone else invent this? But there's another thing about this that is truly amazing, and that is that you could play any child right now at this game head to head. It's a family game, but here's how you do it. If the child can only spell 3- and 4-letter words, just limit yourself to 3- and 4-letter words, and you could play any age child with this. So we tested this in classrooms, and the results have been amazing. In fact, the news in the United States have come out and they've done stories on it, and it's incredible.
So now the thing is, how do you know which letters to put on the board?
That was a lot of work. So here you see these boards that look completely random, and there's nothing random about this at all. This is 15.
So we can just lay it out ourselves.
Yes, exactly. So you lay them out, and there's a decillion different ways. You know, we say a trillion, but there's truly a decillion different ways that you can do it. And a lot of work went into laying these out, and all I can tell you is it's 15 years worth of word game experience. If I explained it, you'd have to have me on the show for a day for me to explain it.
Wow. But I believe this game is also available digitally, right?
Yes, yes. We have the new WordWINDER app, which is doing extremely well. If you go to the iTunes App Store, it's number 3 right now. It's behind Words with Friends and a couple others, or one other, and it's available here. And it's doing great. You can.
The big advantage is you have a dictionary.
The dictionary is built right in.
We need that,
yep, exactly. So it's doing very well. We're very happy with this.
And I guess the compliment would come when someone invents a cheat version. You know.
Well, I have to tell you that we have a patent attorney who is filing patents as we go on.
Okay.
So if somebody does, they'll get a phone call from our attorney.
How do you think technology today has really changed the way people play games? I mean, how has it been? You've been in this for 50 years, so you've seen a change.
A ton. It really has. It's, you know, I know people who have fought this the whole way, people in the game industry who fought it, who are now getting on board, and with the connectivity of being able to play something now and then send it off into cyberspace and then play your next turn a day later and 2 days later. That's a radical change from everybody sitting around. And, you know, a lot of people in the game industry thought, oh, that's horrible that you're not talking to people. Right. But what's happening is it's actually bringing new people together. Like they are meeting as a result of all this. So it's greatly affected it, and there are, you know, pluses and minuses to anything.
So word games and word puzzles, in a sense, that's your favorite
That is my area of expertise. I love them. I'm not a great speller, though. Don't tell anybody.
What's a typical day like for you? You wake up in the morning, and then, you know, you think about the next puzzle you're going to make, or...
You know, I do. I get up very early. I get up at about 3:30 a.m. every day. I don't know why. I have a lot of work, for one thing, so that's one of the reasons why. But I do them in groups. Like, I don't just do like one jumble a day and one word roundup a day. I say, okay, for the next 6 hours, I'm making as many of whatever it is that I'm making. And it allows me to really get into a groove.
Okay, doesn't sound like much fun. I mean,
I tell you what, you do it with a cup of coffee at 4 in the morning with 2 cats sitting on your desk. It's not bad.
I mean, normally we do it in downtime. You're like, oh, okay, I'll give this a try. But when you wake up and you're like, oh, all right, 25 puzzles, let's go. You know?
It's a lot of work, and I do, you know, thankfully, though, I can do it on an airplane. Like, I actually was very productive on the way here. You know, it's nice to be able to do it from anywhere in the world.
So were you inspired in Singapore?
What's that?
You know, you say you get inspired by things around you.
Yes, actually, I will have you know that a jumble was created by something I overheard yesterday on the street. And you know what's funny? I can't remember what it is now, but I recorded it into my phone.
Okay. Okay. Well, I've got one for you that I shared earlier with them. You know, when a whole bunch of Barbies... You heard that.
I saw that. That was my chance to look smart. I should have shut up.
It was so bad, it was kind of good. Okay.
Thank you, puzzle creator David Hoyt. He's the man behind numerous puzzles, games, and brain teasers featured in newspapers across the U.S. and online as well.
That's right. So it's good fun. I think all of us love a good word game every now and then.